In this module, we're going to talk about goal setting. And goal setting is one of the most valuable skill sets you can ever develop in helping you create the results that you want. So we're going to lift the weights right now on goal setting, and we're going to get better at it. And there's so much great information out there on goal setting, YouTube videos, and there's countless books on goal setting and podcasts, and I have a bonus course for you today as part of this module. And learning how to create a thought and then get clear on what specifically you want to create, and then put a plan together on how you're going to create it, and then go out and take action. So I'm excited to be able to share this information with you and get you better at goal setting right now. Every idea, every micro improvement better that you get at goal setting, you now have for the rest of your life. So you want to fall in love with getting really, really great at goal setting. And I want to share with you a goal setting story that took me to my next level years ago around goal setting. And it was a seminar that I attended with one of the top goal setting trainers of all time, Brian Tracy. And there was about 1,000 people at the seminar that day. It was a one-day seminar. And he asked the audience, 1,000 people there, what is goal setting? People raised their hand. He started calling on people. First person said, it's a dream with a deadline. Brian's like, okay. And then another person raises up their hand. Brian calls on him. It's writing down what you want in the future. And then another person says it's having a deadline. And this went on for a little bit. And then Brian Tracy finally looked out at the audience and he goes, stop, you're all wrong. That's not what goal setting is. Which got my attention because I thought all those answers were great answers. And he said, the answer is goal setting is a process. And he then went on to teach the Brian Tracy 7-step process for goal setting. And I took the notes, and that got me on this goal setting journey to study every process that I could find. So any documented goal setting process immediately became interesting to me. Tony Robbins had one. Napoleon Hill from Think and Grow Rich had one. And I would find all these goal setting processes and I'd look for what do they have in common and how are they different. And what I decided to do was to create my own goal setting process based on Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, Napoleon Hill, and anybody else that I could find. And so I created the 10-step goal setting process. And this is like connect the dots for goal setting success. So let me walk you through it. Step number 1 is think about what you want and write it down. And we're not actually setting goals in step 1. We're brainstorming because you might in step 1 write down, I want to have more energy or I want to make more money. And those technically are not goals because they're not specific and measurable, but it's appropriate in step number 1. So brainstorming, think about what you want and write it down. Step number 2, decide exactly what you want and write it down. And the difference between step 1 and step 2 is in step 2, we're actually setting the specific goals. Step 3, look at your goal and make sure it's measurable. Step number 4, identify why you want the goal and write it down. So what's the benefit if you achieve the goal and what will it cost you if you don't achieve the goal? Step number 5 is establish a definite date for the accomplishment of your goal and write it down. Step 6, make a list of action steps to be taken to accomplish your goal. So we're not actually creating the plan yet in step 6. We're brainstorming different action steps that you can take. From the work you do in step 6, you're going to then step 7, create an action plan from your list of action steps and write it down. Step 8 is to take action. Step 9 is to view, visualize, and speak your goals regularly. And step 10 is to do something every day. So you can take those ideas, you can refine your goal setting process, look out on the internet. What does Brian Tracy have to say about it? What does Tony Robbins have to say? What are the YouTube videos? What do they have to say? So why does goal setting matter? Well, I think it's this simple. You get what you focus on. You get what you focus on. So I want to give you some of my favorite goal setting ideas, and some of these maybe are things that you haven't heard of before. Remember, your brain will answer virtually any question you ask it. So ask yourself this question. What's a goal that would inspire me? Right? Like you might have a goal to do a certain amount of income at your sales job, but maybe it doesn't inspire you. It's just, I need to make that money to pay my bills, but it doesn't inspire me. No problem. You know, for me, getting to my weight loss goal, I wasn't really inspired. My goal was to get to 199 and I hit the goal. I wasn't really inspired to, but it's a goal that I have. But ask your brain, what's a goal that inspires me? So one year, it was almost a new year. It was in late November, early December. And I said, what's a goal that will inspire me? And I said, if I set the Guinness Book of World Records for most motivational sales trainings ever delivered in a year. And I was pretty sure that nobody had that record, but I wanted to set the record. And so I set a goal that I was going to do 550 motivational sales trainings for that year. And I set the goal and I tracked it. And for accountability, I told the story on social media and I smashed the goal. Actually did 1,002. And I set the world record for most motivational sales trainings ever delivered in a single year. And I went to Guinness and I said, would you certify the record? And they said, no, we won't certify the record. So I have the unofficial world record for most motivational sales trainings ever delivered in 1 year, 1,002. What's the point of the story? I got the goal in the first place by asking my brain the question, what's a goal that would inspire me? So I want you to identify a goal that will inspire you. So let's come back to my weight loss story. So years ago, there was a period where I stopped my fitness and I wasn't focused on my fitness and I was eating poorly and I started putting on weight. And I didn't get on a scale because I knew it wasn't pretty. And so one day I finally got up the courage and I got on the scale and I looked down and I was 217, the heaviest I'd ever been in my life. Have you ever had one of those moments where you looked at the scale and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I weigh that? It was one of those moments for me. So set a goal. I'm going to get down to 199. And I was super motivated because it's the heaviest I'd ever been. And so I was like exercising like crazy and I started eating way better and the weight just was falling off effortlessly. And then I got down to that 205 and I lost my motivation. I had my goal. I had my plan. I wanted to get to 199. I was at 205 and I went back up to 212. And I was bouncing back and forth between 2.5 and 212, never getting to 199. And this went on for about 6 months. And so I decided to do self-coaching. And I just checked in with myself. I've got the goal. I've got the plan, but it's not happening for me. What's going on? And the answer I got was, I'm not committed enough. So I made a decision in that moment. I'm going to commit, which means, in my words, whatever it takes. I'm going to commit at a higher level to get to 199. And within 3 weeks, I got to 199. So if you ever are not achieving the goals that you set forth, just step back and ask yourself, do a little self-coaching and ask yourself, can I commit at a higher level? I want to share with you a quick story about one of my clients and how goal setting is going to help him make a lot of money selling. So as of this recording, he does between 600 and 700,000 in annual revenue. And he has a goal that he wants to get to 1 million. And then when he gets to 1 million in annual revenue, he wants to get to 1.5. And then he told me, he goes, Eric, at 1.5, I'm good at just maintaining that. I don't need to go beyond that. So we're working on that. And so he's really good at the big ultimate goal of 1.5 million. And he's also fantastic at his monthly goals. So we could get on a coaching call And then you can say, Eric, here's where I'm at month to date. Here's where I'm projected to hit by the end of the month. And he's so good at locking in on the month. And he's also great at the big goal, but he's not real good at setting the goals past the month. So in one of our coaching calls, I said to him, what's a big account for you? And he said, 50,000 in revenue or more. I go, great. How many of those do you have? He goes, I have 2 accounts like that. I do 50,000 or more. I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. You got your big goal. You want to get to 1.5 million, and you got your monthly goals, and you're phenomenal at that. Now we're going to set a goal to go from 2 $50,000 accounts to 5. And we're going to focus on that. And I already know he's going to get to that eventually. And I told them, I said, when you get to 5, we're going to double it. And then we're going to set a goal to get to 10. And so now his mind is out looking for, where can I find a $50,000 or higher account? So the technique that I'm teaching you, it's just adding another goal to the goals that he already has. All right. Now I'm going to tell you another goal setting story about my client, Tim. And Tim is a real estate agent. And we were on a coaching call, and it was around August, September of that particular year. And so we're in the last third of the year, heading towards the last third. And I said, let's start talking about next year. Let's set your goals for next year. And he goes, well, I don't want to give up on this year. And I said, okay. So I wanted him to set goals for the next year, and he was still in this year, which made sense. And so what we did was, and I've never done this with a client before, we set a 2-year goal. So let's say we're in September. So he had all the results he had produced up to September, and then all the results he was going to produce the last 3-4 months of the year, and then the next 12 months. So we set a 24-month goal. I'd never done that before with a client. And the goal was 25 million in real estate sales over a 2-year period, from what he had already been doing for the first 9 months and then the next 15 months. I think that's the math on that. So he set the goal for 25 million. And then a fascinating thing happened on one of our upcoming coaching calls. He had always shared with me he was comfortable at deals $1 million or under. So helping somebody buy or sell a property $1 million or under. Anything outside of $1 million, out of his comfort zone. So we get on this coaching call, and he said, I prospected a $5 million expired listing. I cold called them. And I said, you did what? He goes, I cold called a $5 million expired listing. In other words, he's prospecting for a $5 million deal. I said, Tim, you're the guy that does $1 million or under. I mean, obviously he was doing great. I wanted to prospect to 5 million, but what was going on, Tim? How did you do that? He goes, well, once we set the goal for 25 million, I figured the fastest path to get there was to go after larger deals. And he lost his interest in only going after deals $1 million and under. So what I'm teaching you is that he changed the goal. He got clear on 25 million, and then that changed his action. Because when you increase the size of your goal, it's going to change your plan. In other words, if your mindset right now is, how do I make $100,000 this year? Your brain's going to think, how do I make 100,000? If you're focused on how do I make 250,000, your brain's going to focus on a plan to create 250,000. So you might increase your goal, even if you didn't want to make 250. You're like, Eric, I'm great at 100. Well, you might want to increase your goal to 250 just to change your thinking. So I want to tell you an interesting story about one of my business partners. And so I have my sales training company, which is Eric Lofholm International. And then I have Being Movement, which is my other company. So this is with my Being Movement. And we're doing a live seminar. And so as I was putting the plan together for how many people I wanted to come to our live seminar, I was thinking 200 to 300 people. So I go to my business partner. I didn't tell him my goal. I just kept that to myself. And I said, okay, I want you to do this seminar. You're going to be the product manager. You're going to be the one to make the seminar happen. He goes, okay. And I didn't tell him my goal of 200 to 300. And so he came back to me with a plan for 1,500. He wanted to put 1,500 people in the room. And I looked at that and I immediately felt resistance. Because in my mind, I was thinking 200 to 300. But he was certain on 1,500. Like, I couldn't convince him to lower the goal to 200 to 300. He's like, no, Eric, this is what we're doing. And Tony Robbins taught me, when two people meet, the person that's the most certain will almost always influence the other person. When two people meet, the person that's the most certain will almost always influence the other person. And I was present to the fact that he was more certain about 1,500 than I was about 200 to 300. And so I had to just realize, like, we got to go with this, because this is what he's committed to doing this. And so it was really inspiring to me, because to have a plan for 1,500, we obviously have to think differently than 200 to 300. And he has to show up as the leader for 1,500, and I have to show up for my part as contributing to 1,500. And then all the people that are going to help us with this project, we all have to be thinking 1,500. And what's fascinating, Gary Ryan Blair, who's goalsguy.com, he's one of the top experts in the world on goal setting, says success has more to do with goal choices than abilities. So the attendance, and the event hasn't happened yet, so we don't know what the final numbers are going to be, but the attendance is going to be different that we're pursuing 1,500 than it would be if we were pursuing 200 to 300. So that's a very interesting thing for you to explore in your mind, is maybe it's time for you to swing for the fences. Maybe it's time for you to go after bigger goals. And my business partner on this project really inspired me. Like, Eric, like, go for bigger, think bigger, go after larger goals. The book, The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz, that's a classic. It's a great book for you to consider getting on Audible or paperback. The Magic of Thinking Big. The premise of the book is that if you think bigger, you'll increase your results. If you think bigger, you'll increase your results. So I want to tell you another goal setting story about my client. Her name is Liz. And she recently became a coaching client. We worked in the past on some other projects. And she's like, Eric, I can't get myself to prospect. And she was like having a physical reaction to the thought of prospecting. It was overwhelming for her, and it was creating all this anxiety. And what I helped Liz understand is all those uncomfortable feelings about prospecting were coming from her focusing on how the person was going to respond to her prospecting. And so what I teach is this: when I prospect, I'm not going to focus on how they respond. If they reject me, if they say no, if they ghost me, I'm not going to focus on that. So when I prospect Elon Musk, I'm not focused on how Elon Musk responds or doesn't respond. My thinking is 100% on my activity. And I said to Liz, instead of focusing on the prospect and how they're going to respond, focus on your activity, and the fear will go away. And then I taught her to set a special kind of prospecting goal, and it's called gamify. So gamification is an actual thing, and I'm not going to do a deep dive on that right now, but go Google it. Go study gamification. The Starbucks, as of this recording, gives double points if you order on the app versus going into the store and ordering through the drive-thru. So they're motivating me to order on the app by rewarding me by doubling my points. That's an example of gamification. So what I do for my prospecting is I have a game, and my game is 25 or more prospecting outreaches Monday through Friday. So every day I wake up, and that game is my plan. So Monday is my next work day. So when I wake up Monday, I know my goal and my plan is to do 25 or more reach outs. And whether I do it or not, that's a different conversation. But now I go in and I've got a game, I've got a plan. And so what I taught Liz is this: I want you to create a game. And she says, okay, 10 reach outs 5 days a week. Now, in my game, every reach out counts. Every text, every phone call, every direct message on social media, every email. Now, you can make the game up any way you want. That's my game. So I taught this to Liz. Liz's game, reach out to 10 people. So she's been prospecting effortlessly because she now has a goal, 10 a day. It's a special goal called Gamify. And the mindset is to focus on her achieving the goal, not on how the other person responds. This is a person who was practically paralyzed to prospect because she didn't have a goal, she didn't have a game, and her mindset was focused on the other person. Now, what I just taught you is very simple. If you do that for your prospecting, you make a game, which is a form of a goal, and you focus on your activity versus how the other person responds, that can make you the best prospector in your company. It's possible you could become the number one prospector in your industry. Like if you're a real estate agent, or you sell solar, or you do loans, or you sell cars, or you sell insurance, it's possible with what I just taught you, you can become the number one person in the world in your industry. That's a mindset. It's called thinking big, right? When I started my company in San Diego, California, I wasn't trying to be the best sales trainer in San Diego. I wasn't trying to be the best sales trainer in California. I wasn't trying to be the best sales trainer in the United States. I wasn't trying to be the best sales trainer in North America. I was trying to be the best sales trainer on the planet. That's a mindset. I'm a former cook at McDonald's, college dropout, bottom producing salesperson. So how did I have the thought to become the best sales trainer on the planet? It's all mindset. See, anybody could go after anything. You could go after becoming a millionaire or multimillionaire. You could set a goal to become a homeowner. That's a great goal, by the way. You could set a goal if you were single to find your soulmate. You could set a goal to land your dream job like what I did with Tony Robbins. And so you study this goal setting content and you study other people that have great goal setting content. And what it's done for me is it's opened up my belief around what's possible. It's given me confidence to go after these goals and to really make it happen. I want to tell you one of my favorite goal setting stories. And out of the story, my life changed. It literally changed. And it was from the first seminar that I ever attended. And I was working at McDonald's at the time and going to community college. And I took a day off of my job at McDonald's to go to the seminar. And this multimillionaire named Dante Pirano was one of the speakers. I'd never heard of Dante, but he was amazing. And I was so inspired by his message. And he shared a formula that he had learned from J. Paul Getty, who at one time was the wealthiest man in the world. And according to J. Paul Getty, you could apply this formula and you could create anything you wanted in your life. And the formula is 3 letters, GSA. GSA stands for goal, strategy, action. Ask yourself, what do I want? Develop a strategy to get it. Take massive action on a daily basis. So Dante shares this formula. I'd never heard of it before. I'm all inspired by Dante's message, and he was just an incredible speaker. And so after a few days, I thought, let me try out this goal setting formula. GSA, goal. What do I want? I asked my brain, what do I want? And the first answer I got was something I didn't want. I don't want to work at McDonald's anymore. So I quit. And then what else do I want? I got another answer I didn't want. I don't want to go to community college anymore. So I made a decision and I quit college. I'm like, what else do I want? I want to communicate to the woman who I was dating at that time how much I care about her, how much I love her. And so I decided to propose to her. Now, I made those 3 life-changing decisions in one day. So put yourself in my first wife's shoes. I quit my job today. I dropped out of college. Oh, by the way, will you marry me? And I find it hard to believe that under those circumstances that she said yes. And my entire world changed on this simple formula. And what's powerful about the formula, here I am decades later, the formula is just as valid today as it was back then. GSA, goal, strategy, action. Ask yourself, what do I want? Develop a strategy to get it and take massive action on a daily basis. And I want to wrap up this module by sharing a story with you to have you take a look at what are the types of goals that you're setting. And I was teaching a seminar one time, and I wanted to make a point to the audience, and I asked if there was anybody in the audience that was good at doing push-ups. And this one gentleman put up his hand, and I said, you're good at push-ups? He goes, yeah. I said, if I bribed you, if I gave you a CD set, back in the day we used to have audio CDs, now it's all digital, but back then that's how you would consume content like this. One of the ways was on an audio CD. So I said, look, if I bribe you with an audio CD set, would you come up and do some push-ups? He goes, sure, no problem. So he comes up to the front of the room, and I said, here's the instructions. Do as many push-ups as you can with one stipulation. I want you to do your best. He goes, okay, I'll do it. So he starts doing push-ups, and there's like 40, 50 people in the audience, and we're counting for this guy to motivate. 1, 2, 3. And he's really good at doing push-ups. He wasn't kidding. No, 47, 48, 49, 50. And then he does 51, 52, 53, 54, and he like kind of like collapses, right? So then he goes and has a seat. And I said to the audience, now I asked him to do his best. How many of you think he did his best? Some people raised their hand. How many of you think he didn't do his best? Some people raised their hand. I said, if you don't think he did his best, why do you say that? So we had a discussion. And one person said, well, he had, business attire on. If he was in gym clothes, maybe he could have done more. Like, that's a good point. And then somebody else said, if you'd given him $1,000 as a bonus, if he did 60, maybe he could have done some more. Like, that's a good point. And then this woman said, I bet his goal was 50. And I was like, what? She didn't know him. He didn't know her. And she just blurted that out. And the gentleman's in the room. And I said, well, what was your goal? And he goes, my goal was 50. It's like, wow. Then I said to him, did you already know you could do 50 before you came up here? And he said, yes. And this is something that we might do at times. Set a goal that's a quote unquote safe goal, a goal that we already know that we can accomplish. Nothing wrong with that. It's not wrong to set safe goals. But my partner on my seminar project, who has the goal to put 1,500 people in the room, that's like, wow, that's really out there. Like, we're going to have to like really become something more. And if we're going to go and we're going to hit that. And so what I want you to do is just start noticing the place that you're coming from when you're setting your goals. Are you setting safe goals, or are you expanding? It's not one's better than the other. But you might want to increase your income, but you're setting a goal to make, say, 10,000. But you really want to make 15 or 20. But you're like, oh, I know I can do 10. And so you're reluctant to set the goal for 20. And that is my reluctance with the seminar with the 1,500. It's like, wow, like, can we even do that? Right? And so we're going to go for it. And it'll be whatever it is, where my number of 200 to 300 people, that was a safe goal. It's like kind of easy to hit that goal. Again, not one better than the other, but there is a time and a place to expand. And sometimes we don't go for the bigger goal out of fear of failure. And instead of looking at it as failure, like if the gentleman had the goal to do 70 push-ups, and instead of 54, let's say he did 58, to consider that as an idea that 58 is better than 54. He set the goal for 50. He did it. He actually exceeded it. But would it be better for him to set a goal for 70 and hit 58? And it's not, it is or isn't. It's just something for you to explore, because perhaps by you listening to me right now, I will inspire you to set bigger goals, which will pay for this course 100 times over. That one thought of you going after bigger goals will pay for this course 100 times over. So next recommended step for you, watch what's an audio. Listen to my course, How to Master the Art of Goal Setting. It's a 6-module course that teaches 100 unique ideas on goal setting. You'll love that. Study the greats on what they have to say about goal setting, and really, really continue to lift the weights and get good on goal setting, because this can help you in all areas of your life. Thanks for watching.